Okay, so it's 12:05 and I think we should jump right into it. Okay, so can you guys see me? Because I want to make sure everybody can see me, can hear me. Can you guys see me? Eventually I'll turn off the video, but I feel like it's very important for you guys to put a face to the voice behind the voice you'll be hearing today.
Yes,
we can see you.
Okay. So let me go straight to it. My name is Phebian Chukwurah. I am a senior front-end developer at Okra. And I'm going to be briefly sharing some details about me. So I have about 4 years experience building solutions that help manage people, data, process payment. And I have worked in several companies. I've worked in Softcom, Synfix, Kudi, and I'm currently at Okra doing the Lord's work. Yeah. So as a developer, I make sure I write readable, reusable, maintainable, and code that is tested. I always like to remind myself that anybody can write code, you know, once you have the discipline to study, once you're able to just explore the resources we have online, anybody can write code. But what's going to make you stand out and what's going to make you build solutions that actually solve problems for users is by making sure you understand the needs of these customers you're building for. And also, it's also very important, something that's helped me in my journey, just, you know, something that's helped me in my journey is to always make sure you're constantly learning and you're constantly remaining, catching up with all the changes that are coming, all the technologies that you're working with. So I think I'm going to go straight into the order of the day, and I don't think you guys need to keep seeing my face. Let's all focus on the slides. So I'm going to be turning off my camera now, and we're just going to jump right into it officially. That's okay, yes?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm trying to make it interactive so that you guys don't sleep off. I have you guys for 2 hours tops, so I'm trying to make it as interactive as possible. Okay. So higher order functions and closures. And the beautiful thing about higher order functions and closures is you guys might not even recognize it yet, but almost everybody here, if you have written a function or if you've written any little code that uses functions, you have most likely already used a higher order function or a closures already. But we're going to help you recognize when you're using a higher order function or recognize when you are using a closure after today. So that's the goal for today, making sure that you guys know how to work with higher order functions, recognize when you're using closures going forward. Okay, so first things first, what are functions? I don't know, does anybody want to help me out? I'm clueless. You want to help me out, or I should just jump right into it? Just one person. Does anybody have an idea of functions? Have you worked with functions before? Nobody? Nobody? Everybody's might be muted. Okay, so I mean, we're just gonna go straight into it since no one wants to help me out. But everybody can hear me, right? It's not because you can't hear me. You can all hear me, right?
I hear you.
Okay, so going forward, the moment you guys stop hearing me, just drop a chat and say, hey, I can't hear you, okay? But I'm also going to be asking to make sure you guys can hear me. So what are functions? And then I'm just going to answer like easily. Functions are, they are what you write to perform actions in your code. So it's a sequence of instructions to carry out an action. If I want to print a message to the console, if I want to add 2 numbers, if I want to multiply 2 numbers, if I want to perform an action, I'm going to use a function to do that. But let's go into definition proper. So when you write a program, you often need to perform some action, and sometimes you need to perform this same action multiple times. Functions allows us to structure our code into smaller and more reusable units that perform a specific action. So if you've been working with JavaScript already, but everybody here has tried their hands on JavaScript already, yes? Just one person.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm sure maybe you've tried to view something on console, so you use console.log, or you try to have a pop-up on your window, so you use alert. So all these things are functions that you're already using. So these functions are built-in functions that come with JavaScript, but you have the ability to write your own function to do whatever you want it to do. And then today we're going to be just writing a couple of random functions. So I hope that you guys have your laptops with you. I'm sure you guys are joining your laptop. So you guys can also join in with the phone and just code as I code. So I'm going to be using this. Okay, let me go down. Sorry, I just always use it to do.
900.
Okay. Okay, so let's say we want to write a function that, let me pick someone's name, that logs Coyote Gabriel's name to the console. So I'm going to write a function. Oh, sorry.
This one is a new.
Okay, someone needs to mute their mic because I can hear you.
Huh? This is a new design. What is it? I like this. No.
Bad boss, can you play some mute?
Okay, so as you can everybody see my screen? I'm sure you can. So now we've written a simple function that just logs out Coyote Gabriel's name to the console. This function has performed an action, and this function can be called multiple times. We can, every time we want to log Coyote Gabriel's name to the console, all we have to do is call our function that I named print name. Okay, so we can do that multiple times. Okay, and then we can also do some really cool stuff with this function, but let's take it one step at a time. So I'm going to explain the different parts of a function. So there are different parts to a function, but okay, well, first thing first, we need to know how to declare a function. So everybody can see how, when I wanted to declare this function, I started by writing function. You can all see that, right? Okay, I'm gonna just say
yes.
Okay. I wish there was no corona and we could have done this in person. I feel like that would have been amazing, but we have to just make use of like the internet, utilize the internet, and just I'm still going to honestly try to keep it as interactive as possible. So I'm sorry if I'm asking too many questions, waiting for you guys to say yes, because I'm just trying to make sure you guys follow. Okay. So function. Okay, to declare a function, you have to start by naming it by typing the keyword function. And then this print name here is what we call the name of the function. So we can name this function anything. We can name it, let's say, log name. And then once we do that, we're going to have to call the function by saying log name followed by brackets. Okay, so by doing that, you're calling the function. Okay, and this the beginning of this curly brackets to the end is where we call the body of the function. But let's just go back to the definitions and then we'll see the function structured in different ways coming soon. Okay, so declaring a function. To declare a function, you use the function keyword, like I showed you guys just now, followed by the function name. So in that function, our function name was log name or print name, and then a list of parameters. I didn't display parameters for you guys, but I'll be showing you that soon. And then the function body or the function statement. To call the function, you use the name followed by the function arguments enclosed in the parentheses, which are also brackets. So that's just fine name for brackets. Okay, so this is a good example or a labeled function. So the function was declared by typing the keyword function that we can see here. And then the name of this function is called sum. And then this sum takes in two arguments, which is the A and B, but you can also call these arguments parameters. The name for these arguments are what we call params or parameters. And then the body of the function starts when you have your opening curly brackets and then your closing curly brackets. So this section is what we refer to as the body of the function or the function statement. And after you've written this function and you need it to be invoked, or you need to call this function, that is what we did here by calling our function name sum. So we call the name sum, and then we have to pass parameters into this function, because without passing parameters into this function, we won't be able to use it. It will throw an error because it requires these parameters. So there are some functions that don't have any parameters. There are also some functions that don't have any names, okay? But functions will always need to have a function body to work. Okay, so we're going to be seeing functions with no names and functions with no parameters. In fact, we have already demoed this function log name has no parameter. Okay, we can refactor this function in a way that it expects a parameter. So we can say the parameter should be first name, and then instead of doing Gabriel, so we can just say first name plus Gabriel. And then when we want to log name, so it's expecting a first name, so we can just say Coyote. Okay, and then, oh yeah, let's add a space. We can do this to add a space. Or there's so many ways to write this particular function, but let's just stick with this method, okay? So now, before we had a function that didn't require any parameter, but now we refactor that factor to accept the parameter first name. And then we're using that first name to pass in whatever first name we want to pass in. So we can say log name Phebian Gabriel. So now we've passed a different first name value to this function. And then we can see how we're able to use the same function in very different ways. Can everybody see that? Like, you're using the same function, but you're using it in very different ways. So in this way, we're making we can write code that is reusable. We don't need to like continuously console the log Kayode Gabriel, Phebian Gabriel, Jessica Gabriel. We don't need to constantly do that. We can just write a function that is going to do that for us and pass in different inputs or params into this function. And then we've reused code. We've made the code light. We don't need to clutter our code base just because we're trying to log in different names. Okay, so let me not bore you guys with that. Let me move on. So yeah, I think we've kind of touched on this by now, and I'm sure everybody already understands this, but I'm going to go to it again once again. So there are different parts of a function. We have the function name, and like I mentioned earlier, this function name can be omitted, and the function would then become an anonymous function. We'll see that soon. So params are the arguments or the inputs passed to your function, and the statement or the body of the function is simply the body of the function. So, I mean, these are possible questions. I'm sure I've even answered or asked these questions earlier. What if a function has no name? When a function has no name, it is called an anonymous function. This function has a name now. Can anybody see that this function has a name? So in my slide, I'm wrong. This function has a name, and the name of this function is what? Sum. Okay, so we're going to look at an anonymous function. I mean, we can already just make this function anonymous, yeah? And just delete this name. So now this is an anonymous function that, okay, wait, let's just not accept, let's still dumb it down a bit. Let's just have this anonymous function print out Coyote Gabriel. So, I mean, I'm expecting that someone can say, hey, now that we don't have a name, how are we going to call this anonymous function? Yeah, because before, when we were, okay, let me just call. Before, when we wanted to call a function, we used the name of the function, yeah, which was log name. Let's just take it back. Let's take it back to this, okay? Let's just log name Gabriel. Let's do that. Okay, so when we tried to invoke this function before, we just called log name. But now that we're saying, hey, we want an anonymous function, we have an anonymous function without a name, and we need to call this function, yeah? So I'm going to also quickly introduce you guys to what we call an IFI, an immediately invoked function. So to immediately invoke this function, we can just wrap it with brackets, and then we've called this function. So can everybody see that my console now logs Gabriel? You can see that, yeah? So now this is what we call an immediately invoked function. Immediately we declared it, we invoked it, and we were able to use it. But these are not the only way we can use anonymous functions. We can use anonymous functions in so many other ways. We can assign anonymous functions to variables and then call those variables, okay? So I'm going to show you that right now. So we can have an anonymous function that, let's say, logs, how are you today? That's a question. And then I have a variable question. Let's just say const question, okay? And we assign this anonymous function, how are you today, to this our variable. Did anybody expect us to be able to do this? Assigning a function to a variable, because I know that you guys, I don't know, you guys understand what variables are by now, yeah? So there are different types of ways to declare a variable, and there are different variables. Okay, so let's just quickly touch on variables, just in case you guys don't know what variables are. So we can have a number, and then we can declare a number 1, or we can have a string that is my name. Let's say Phebian. Okay, so these are variables, and there are different ways to declare variables. You can use the const, you can use the let, you can use var, but you need to know when to use what you're using. So you use const when you're not going to be updating the variable again. So if you try to, for example, if I try to assign a value to, okay, I don't think I want to go deep into this because I know that you guys already know this. I don't want to bore you out, but if you guys need me to still explain this, please just say, Phebian, explain. But I know you guys, I expect you guys to already know this, but I mean, it's okay if you don't. So if we try to do this, sorry, we're going to have an error because we declared it with a const, okay? But if we use the let, we'd easily be able to reassign a value to name. And if we use var, we'll also be able to update it whenever. However, when you're using var, your variable is going to be available on your global scope. I'm also sure you guys understand the different scopes. We have the global scope, the local scope, lexical scope. So, okay, we're going to be using this scope knowledge a bit. So I'm hoping you guys already understand it. But if you don't, let me know. And while I'm
Sorry, you use the lexical scope.
yes.
Can you explain that, please?
Okay, so lexical scopes are scopes that local scopes have. So if you okay, let me explain. Let's write a function now to explain that. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Okay. So let's say we have a function. Okay, yeah, I think it's also good you asked that question now, because now we can even explain how functions, you can declare functions. So I mean, that would be best explained when we actually get to closures. I think we should hold on that, because in closures, you will actually see it in action. Okay?
All right.
Okay. So, okay, yeah, let's move on. But everybody understands what an anonymous function is right now, yes?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Okay, so yes, we have already explained this. Functions can have no parameters, okay? So sometimes a function can have no parameters, a function can have a single parameter, and a function can also have multiple parameters. But when you have a function with multiple parameters, you have to separate them by a comma. I think we saw that here. So this A and B, they're multiple parameters and they were separated by commas. If you want to have more parameters into this function, you can just add them, but you separate each parameter with a comma. And then what type of params can be passed to a function? So I'm also going to assume that by now everybody kind of had, everybody understands the different types that we have in JavaScript, but I'm just going to be speaking to some here. So a function, we can pass a string to a function. We can pass a number to a function. We can pass an object to a function. We can even pass functions into another functions. And that is where we'll be explaining higher order functions, but I'm going to hold on that a bit. And then we're going to take it one step at a time. But, oh, okay, function expression. So let me just, so the function we created earlier, oh, sorry, trying to go back. Okay, so this log name is accepting a string. Can everybody see that, yeah? Kayode is a name, which is a string. The type of this, okay, we can even do that. We can also log type of first name. So it will tell you what type you're passing into this function. And you can see that now it is logging string. You can all see that, yeah? Okay,
Yes.
so we can also change this function from log name to sum real quick. So if we end up passing, okay, which is actually what it was initially. Okay, no. That's what we have in our example on our slides. But if we want to quickly change this parameter to one that does a sum for us. Okay, this is bad. Okay. So now we're trying to even know, okay, what is the type of this parameters A that we've passed? So now we have passed a number, and it is adding 1 and 2 to give us 3. So everybody can see that here. So there are different type of, you can pass different types to your function, and then you can use this function. And I've already explained, so the next thing on my slides are function expression. So function expressions, we have already seen that in action. Function expressions are when you assign a function to a variable. So functions are first-class citizens in JavaScript. I don't know if you've heard this before, first-class citizens. So when we are saying functions are first-class citizens, what do we mean by this? It means that we can treat functions like any other value and assign them to variables and store them there. So now this function, we have assigned this function A, the function that accepts this parameter A and B and returns A plus B to a variable sum. And then we can call this function and even assign this function to other variables and just reuse this logic. So like this makes sense, yeah? Are you seeing how functions, utilizing functions gives us the ability to reuse our logic and reuse our code and just do really dynamic and interesting things with it. So now this anonymous function was assigned to the value sum. Okay, I'm just going to move on from this and not end up repeating myself because I feel like everybody kind of understands this by now, yeah? Yeah? Okay, so I'm going to pretend I heard a yes. But now look at this function. Is it any different from this function we just saw? Maybe if I put them side by side, it would have been too easy. But I don't want you guys to be able to figure it out easily. So now this function is an anonymous function. The function we assign to some is an anonymous function. We can also have a named function assigned to a variable. I just wanted you guys to also know that because the way I explained it, I made it seem like, oh, anonymous functions are the only ones that you can assign to variables, but functions, even named functions, can also be assigned to variables and stored there. So now we're going to be jumping to our topic for the day, which is higher order functions. So what are higher order functions? And earlier on, I mentioned that there are different types of parameters you can pass into your function. You can pass a string, you can pass a number, you can pass an object. I noticed that you guys had a class on objects and arrays earlier, yeah? So you guys already know what objects and arrays are, yeah? No need to go into that, yeah? Okay. Okay, I'm just going to be jumping right into it. Sorry, I'm asking too much questions. Okay. So now, a higher order function is a function that takes a function as an argument or returns a function. And if you guys worked with arrays, I'm sure that, well, okay, let me not be too sure. If you guys work with arrays, you might have used the map function or the filter functions. These are higher order functions already. And these functions are actually they also come with JavaScript. So we can just already use them. You don't need to customize a map function or a filter function. You can just utilize them already. And they both return transform values in an array. So transform values in an array. Okay, so I'm just really going to just demo that a bit. So let's say we have an array of, okay, oh yeah, that's my example. I have an example that is here already, but okay, yeah, let's do something different. So let's say const countries. So we can have an array of different countries. Let's say we have Nigeria, Canada, Ghana. And then we want to perform some operation on each item in this array. A map function is a good example of a high order function. And I'm going to show you why that is. So we can do countries.map. Okay, so, okay, I'm going to explain. Okay, I'll use this as an opportunity to also explain something. Countries.map. So let's say country, and then we're going to return. What should we do now? I don't want to do uppercase again. What else can we do in this country now? Okay, instead of doing an array of strings, let's change this to an array of objects. So we'll have name is Nigeria. Let me just do food. No. I don't know foods in Canada. I hope it's not looking a little too custard. Let me try and just. Let me see. Okay, let me just make it name and population. Okay, let's do that. We'll guess the population. It doesn't have to be right. Let's just say 200 million. Okay. Changing this to an object word as well. Please, you guys, if I've lost you in any way, just let me know. Okay, I would be happy to go back. Okay, let's say 50 million. 25 million. Okay, they're not much.
35.
35 million. Okay. Who knows the population of Ghana? I have no idea actually. Let's just say 20 million.
60.
60?
Just a random guess.
Okay, so let's just use 60. Okay. So now, the beauty about map is map returns an array. And that's why I said I'm going to use this as an opportunity to country names. Okay. Canada is not defined. Okay. Nobody told me that my Canada wasn't a string. Eh? Okay. So, I mean, can anybody tell me what they think my country names should print if I log into the console? Can anyone? Nobody wants to give it a try?
Yeah,
I think it's going to return the name of the countries only, excluding population.
Beautiful. In an array, that was very important to say. It's going to return the names of the countries in an array. So let's just let everybody else get to see that, you know. So sometimes seeing things just helps you. So now we were able to only use the names of the country and it gave it this to us in an array. In case we didn't want an array, we could have just simply used a for each and would have passed it how we want. We can then define what we want to return, but map always returns an array. Okay, so map always returns an array, filter always returns an array. So if we want to even use filter, we can even say, let's filter this country for countries that their names, country the name the starts with, let's say that starts with G. Did anybody see that? So, okay, because I need you guys to make sure like you're following, yeah? So what we did here was we returned only the country that starts with a G. And it looks through our country names. Nigeria starts with an N, Canada starts with a C, Ghana starts with a G. So it returned just that single item, Ghana and the population, okay? So filter is a dynamic function. Why? Because it takes in a function. So this country, okay, this, everybody can see what I have highlighted here. This alone is a function. We all know what arrow functions are, right? Because this is an arrow function. It doesn't have to be an arrow function, but I mean, arrow functions are, the syntax are just shorter. Okay, so let me just quickly explain arrow functions. Okay. So if we want to, the function that we've been using all day is this. Okay, so let me use a function expression to explain this. So let's say we have let sum, and we say sum is a function that accepts two parameters a, b, and then returns a plus b, okay? And then if we want to call it, we do sum 1 and 2, and then we get 3, yeah? So another way of writing this exact function to do the exact same thing that we have done here, we can use an arrow function. So we can say, instead of using sum, I'm going to name it add. So let add equals to, take in two parameters as well. And then it's going to return so if we call add 1 and 2 to the function, we also still get 3. So these two functions are doing the exact same thing. We can even go ahead to like shorthand this to this. Can everybody see that?
Can you do that again? My network makes me a bit now.
Okay, so let's take it back a bit, okay? So I was saying that these two functions are exactly the same. They're doing the same thing. They're taking in two parameters, parameters B. They're returning the sum. Let me just make that obvious so that everybody can see. They're returning the sum of this, they're returning the sum of these two parameters, A plus B. But with this one, we have defined this function as an arrow function, okay? And then the beauty about this arrow function is it can even let us just simply do this. So it just helps us keep things short, okay? So can anybody see that these two functions are exactly the same thing? The guy who asked me to go back, do you understand? Can I move on?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, that's good. Okay. So now this filter is a function that takes in an arrow function. And this arrow function, oh, sorry, I just like to break things up so that everybody can see. We need our countries to be defined so that it can work. Okay, and what this function simply did was it took in a function that is expecting a parameter, and the parameter would be a country. And this country, I hope I'm explaining this properly. Okay, so this country here is going to be every item in this array countries. So it's going to look through, because of this function we're written here, it's going to look through every item in this countries array. And then first of all, it will check for the name of all the items in this country. So it checked all the name, the first name Nigeria, second name Ghana, third name Ghana. And then the next thing we asked it to do was to check if the name starts with a G. And then this G also, this starts with, is also a function. So now a higher order function here is the filter function, because it's taking in a function, okay, and returning some transformed value. So we can have a function return different values. We can have a function return arrays, objects. We can have a function return functions as well. Okay, so that is what we mean by higher order functions. Does everybody understand what higher order functions are? And these higher order functions, there's no way, if you're going to be writing functional programming, there's no way you're not going to use higher order functions, because they help you write dynamic, reusable code. Okay, they help you perform abstraction when you don't really need people to know the details of code. Now, all we need to know is that we tried to filter some information and we were able to get the value we needed. Okay, so it helps us really write dynamic. Higher order functions help us really write dynamic functions. The truth is, I'm sure a lot of us here have been using higher order functions already, but now we're able to recognize what higher order functions are, right? Everybody here can now recognize what the higher order functions are, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Please, I have a
Okay.
question.
Okay, please ask your question.
When you did country.name,
Okay.
I was thinking, because it's filter, it's going to log only the name that starts with G
Okay.
and not the other properties of the object, and not the other object.
Okay, so what you are expecting is, okay, so let me break that. We gave it a criteria, and what filter does is it's going to make sure the criteria we've given it is fulfilled, and then it returns the item in that array. Okay, so we didn't ask it to return the name of that array. We asked it to return that single item in that array. But let me explain it again. So now we've told it, check the country name and check for the one that starts with AG. Yeah. So, okay, we can also expand this. Let me expand this function to do what you're expecting, and then you'll be able to see. But the point is, what I'm trying to say is, filter will give you, once you're done, if you don't explicitly specify what it should return, yeah, it will give you a single item in that array that fulfills the condition you've given to it. So the item in that array that fulfilled the condition we've given to it is this third item here. So it gave us everything. But if we wanted it to return just the name, let's do that. Okay, let's see that. Let's bring this up. Okay, so we're going to return. Let's do our open bracket and see. I hope it's not looking too messy. Okay, so let's I want to, okay, I can make it wider so everybody can, but it's still too long. Okay, I'll just try and get more space for everybody to see this. Okay, so country name that starts with D. So let item be equals to country name that starts with D, return item the name. Yeah. Okay, wait, let's see what return item is now. So why is this not here? This is odd.
At index0.name.
So, okay, that's actually odd. Let me see, let me think through this better. So now we're saying return first item. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't really think so though. Interesting. Can I read property name of undefined? Interesting. Okay, so I actually expected just this to work. And I don't know why that's not working. Let's think through it. Let's think through. So now we are filtering countries, and then we've gotten the single item country.
So there's an observation.
Okay. Yeah, share.
Inside the filter bracket, why did you use country instead of countries? Because I thought you were referring to the constant countries.
Where's that?
Like I want to know why. I thought you were referring to the constant countries. So why the country
Why this
instead of
country?
countries?
Why this country?
Yes.
Okay. So that's an easier question. So this country, we can name it anything. We can even name it. We don't even have to do this, yeah? Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. So let me explain this country for you. Wait, this function is actually acting weird. This is unexpected. It's not supposed to return country. Okay. So let me explain why. We can name this anything. We can name it item, yeah? But what you're doing here is you're giving the name to the individual item in this array. So we're trying to say return the single item in this array. So each item, this name, this first, okay, wait, let me see. Let me even just print out just the first one. Okay, no need for that. But I think I want to change my environment. Let me use MDN. Sorry, guys. So okay. Yeah, so let me use this as a way to explain again. So this is the documentation for the filter function actually in JavaScript. And you can see that, first of all, they have an array of words, different words. They have the spray, the limit, the elite, the exo, whatever, the destruction present, yeah? So now they're saying that filter these words by whatever condition you're going to give it. So whatever you put as the name here is what we're naming each item in that element, okay? So we're saying that refer to this each item in every element, because what filter does is going to look through each item in that element, but we need to give a name to that, to each item it is looking through, and we've called each item word. So immediately it's going to look through this array and find out which word's length is greater than 6. So it doesn't matter if we call this word item, if we call it any other thing, yeah, or we call it word name or anything. We're just giving a name for the individual item in this element. Is that clear?
All right, I understand.
Okay, so now to the second question. So I actually want to figure out why that is printing. I want to figure out a way to print out just the name of this. So yeah, you can use MDN to really Google or check through anything you want. Okay, so MDN, and you can also interact with it. You can code here and just like play with your functions here, and then just have a good understanding of how to use your code. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5. Let me reduce it. Okay, so I'm still creating a function similar to what we had in my other environment, but I want to try this here. So let's say the length of 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's also 5. Okay. Let me do this. So okay. 4. So now yeah, return the object. So now if we want it to return, guys, I hope I'm not confusing you. So this is a condition. Where's that? Where's that? So this is the first one. Okay, so I need to. I'm supposed to get. I can't see it. So once the filter, this first one is here, then this thing. Sorry, I can't see. It's asking there's something that is missing here. Okay, let me just go again and just clean it up so I don't lose it. Let's take it back. Word, oh shit. Spellings can ruin you. Okay, so one name the name greater than that, yeah? So we have here one name the name. Let's do this. Ah shit, I've missed it again. God, sorry guys. I'm not really seeing it with this one. Let me take it to my environment here. Yes, messy. This is easier to work with because it kind of shows you like when you're getting things wrong. So this is what. Yes, okay, so let's do it.
I think you did something name greater than length. If you
Yeah, okay. This is so what we're gonna say, let's say we're gonna 3.
what name dot length? What dot name dot length?
Oh yeah. Sorry guys, thanks for that. Yes, okay, everything is passing back. So let's just make one. Sorry. Okay, so let's make only one. Improve that. I wonder why it's not returning the value that we needed to return. Okay, let me take it. This is clean now. Object. But this now.
Chat box, please.
This is not what I was expecting actually. Okay, but nonetheless, I think we should move on from this.
You please check your chat.
Sorry?
He's saying you should check your chats.
Oh, okay. Could it be because it's an object within an array? If it's an object on its own, something like word.name should work, I think. Well, Chaka, I also felt like word.name would work. So, to be honest, I'm actually shocked that it's not working. But I think I'll figure it out. And then once I'm able to figure it out, I'll just share with you guys so that we're all learning together. Because I was so convinced that if I go, when I asked it to return word here, because I did a ternary operation. I don't know if you guys saw that. But
Sorry.
yeah.
It's still near an array, that's what I'm saying.
Remember, filter doesn't returns undefined. Could that be the reason?
So there's no even need for us to even do that ternary operation. Let me not even confuse you guys, okay? So once filter, okay, let's even, in fact, we're in the documentation, so let's even go through it, okay? And let's figure it out together. Yeah, the elements, a new array with elements that pass the test. If no elements pass the test, an empty array will be returned. So it seems like it always returns an element. So what I was trying to do, I was trying to pass a single, okay, so I think what we're trying to do with regards to achieve what you're trying to do, if you need to specify, because from this experience we are even like going through together, it seems like filter would always return the elements in that array. So if it's an object, it will send you back an object, okay? But if you want to really transform to specify what you want, I would advise you use a map. So let's use a map to kind of create what we're trying to achieve. So first of all, we're going to check okay, so let's take out this console. Okay, so let's do it in that really cool environment we have here. Okay. So let's not even do this. Okay, so I think this is kind of giving us what we want, but you know why it's returning undefined? Because it checked through the second item and it didn't find anything that matched the condition that we said we asked it to pass. So I think maybe what we need to use is the find. Yeah, but it's not returning what we need. Returning the item. Okay, I think I also need to go and read up on all these things again, because it's not performing the way I actually expected it to perform as well. Yeah, so if word.name.length is equals to return word.name, it's just giving us an item. So let's have using find. Let's go back to, oh, let's use a for each. Yeah, let's use a for each. Without what I'm doing here. Okay, let me do that. Okay, wait, let me take a step back and let's use the for each here. Okay, so okay, we have what? Okay, wait, let's even console the log word. Let's even see what we're doing. Sorry, this is it. Okay. So, like, return for them. Let's see. Let's go. Oh yeah, to return undefined. Actually, what I'm expecting this to do is map actually. But the name, because it's going to return an array for us. For each doesn't return an array. So if we wanted for each to return an array, we're going to have to create an array in our scope by ourselves. Yeah, sorry guys. I think this is as interactive as it gets. So let's say let names data. But please, I hope I'm not losing anybody by doing this.
No, you are not. You are not.
Okay. Return names data. So push. Okay. So create an array. Okay, wait. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, so let's do this.
Maybe we just leave it. Then when you're able to walk
Okay.
around it and send it to our Slack.
Okay, that works actually. Yeah, but it's
So
actually very
too much time on it.
okay. Okay, yeah, let's do that. Yeah. Please, what's your name so I can follow up?
Eugenia.
Eugenia. Okay, that's a good question. But from what what we've even experienced, when you use a filter, it works on the item. So if you're passing an object, it's going to give you back an object. If you want to really transform things to return, to define what you want it to return, then use a map and like just define it. Okay, so that's when we're able to return just the names in an array. Do you get? Is that clear?
Yes, that's
Okay.
clear. Thank you.
But what I'll do is I'll make sure that that is like the gospel truth so that you're not like, there's no confusion, even for me as well, okay? Okay, let's go back to the slides. So now it's time to get to closures. And I don't want to, I'm sorry I even took too long on that. So now let's look at these two functions. So we have this first function that is just printing Oh wait, okay, let's type it out. Let's type it out ourselves. It's always good when you're learning, you type out whatever you're doing, because it helps you to learn like the code that you're writing. It just helps you learn things. That's the first thing I'll tell you guys. Don't copy and paste. Even if you see a solution to something that has been bugging you, don't copy and paste, type it out, because your brain kind of learns the pattern to things easier like that. Okay. So now we have this function and we have we have two variables. The first variable, first name, second variable, surname, declared in our function print name. And then we want to console the log sorry, I don't like this space. Okay, I was on my video. Okay, we want to console the log first name plus last name. So, I mean, when we call this function, what do we expect? Oh, sorry, Sonia. You guys, nobody even told me. Yeah, let's add the space. Let's add the space. So another way to do this, instead of doing this, we can use concatenation. That's just a cleaner way of doing stuff when you're using multiple variables like this. Okay, so they give you the same results. They're the same thing. Just this came out with ES6. So it's the same thing you're writing like both ways. Okay, so now we have a function print name that is going to simply print log our first name and the surname. But what happens if we have a variable declared in our global scope? So let's say we have var, well, in fact, it's in the parent scope, so it will be available even though we don't use a var compared to how I want to use it. So let's say var Anita. I'm sorry, first name Anita. Let's also pick surname so that everybody can understand what we're trying to achieve. Surname Joseph. Okay. So can everybody see that this first this print name it didn't change its values, even though we have variables declared in the global scope to be first name and surname, right? Everybody can see that, yeah? Yeah?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So now we're going to declare a function that is doing exactly the same thing as our print name, but we're going to use the variables declared in the parent scope. Okay, so let's see that. Function log name. So we're going to just simply do this. Someone tell me, what do you expect it? If we call this function, what are we expecting to give us?
Anita Joseph.
Anita Joseph. Why is that? How is that possible?
Yeah, added the first name and the surname.
But in doing that, you have created a closure. That is a closure. So a closure is the ability of functions to assess variables that are outside its local scope. Do you understand that? Does everybody understand that?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so by doing this, we didn't need to have this first name and surname specified inside here for it to be able to access it. It was just able to pick up this function and access it. Let's even see if we can like make some things even more complicated. So we can have this, we can wrap everything in a function. Okay, we're just going to comment this out first. Oh yeah, let's take it out. And let's say handle names. Okay, so we have these functions, and inside this function, it has several properties defined. We have the first name defined here. Yeah, can everybody see that? We have the surname defined in this handle names function.
Yes.
Oh, okay, shit. We have functions here before. Shit. Okay. So now console is clear. Okay. So now we have this function called handle names, and this function has properties assigned to it. This function has methods. A method here is the print name and the log name. So okay, yeah, let's even go on to also declare. Should we declare a variable outside it? Okay, so just want to show you how functions, how there are so many ways you can utilize functions, and how we are working, how we can in many ways just be working with closures and like not realize it. So I have a function here called let age equals to 12 years. Okay, and then we have console.log age. And then we're going to call our function, the methods we have defined here, print name. Okay. Calling the functions, the methods we have here. So. Oh shit. Sorry guys. Okay. So now I want to use this as a medium to explain like the lexical scope we spoke about, okay? I don't know who asked that question earlier, and I told you we're going to pick it up later on.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. So now we have a function. I'm just going to call this function the parent function because it's encapsulating different method, a method print name, log name, yeah? And then in the global scope, we have age. Okay, but because we have a declared with let, yeah? This age is going to be defined in this local scope. But if we have, okay, yeah, let me do that. No, we've used var before, so that might not work again. So let me just use var. I'm thinking of a variable name. var country. Let me use country again. Or no, let's use city. Okay. Lagos State. Okay. So I don't know if this environment will allow us to do this. We know that. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, now, so I'm about to explain the different scopes to you guys. Okay. So when you define a variable with var, you automatically make that variable available in your global scope. This var, the most ultimate guy. So if you don't need that variable to be accessible everywhere, you just need it in a particular, like just for in a particular scope, you're not using it across different let me even say components. You're not using it across different components. You can just simply use a let. If you're not going to be reassigning it, you can use a const. So there's no place where we reassign age. So we can just easily change that let to a const. So whatever you declare on the global scope, you'll be able to access it via this window. Yeah. So if we can see, we declared city with var. So immediately we did that, we made it available in the global scope. We declared age with a const, making it available in the local scope. Yeah. But because we used a const and we made it available only in the local scope, we can't access it on the body of window. We can't access it on a global window. Yeah, because this is how you access like things you declare on like your global scope. Once you just do window, though, you'll be able to access it. But because age is defined in our local scope, we cannot access that. So now this function handle names as well. And you know, when you declare a function, it is going to also be available in the global scope. Let's also see that. Okay, let me comment this out and just do. So it's kind of, let's just not. So when you declare functions as well, you are making them available in the so this main functions is available now in the global scope, and this print name method, this log name method are available in the local scope to handle names. Yeah, but are you seeing this first name Phebian, this son name Phebian? Sorry, this son name Chukwurah. They are available in the lexical scope to handle names, but the local scope to print name. Do you get that?
Please, could you re-explain?
Okay.
In layman's terms,
Oh, okay. I thought we were doing layman's stand. Okay, but let's take it slowly. So now we have the global scope, yeah? And when you define a variable with a var, you've made it available in the global scope. You've made it available everywhere. So if you have a project of, so yeah, from anywhere, you'll be able to access your variables in the global scope. But when you use a const, you use a let, it's only going to be available in a local scope. And a good way for you to know when you're creating a new scope is like this curly brackets. So this curly brackets are, okay, yeah, I think we should even just go so that we are doing it in layman terms, okay? Let's just Google, hey, what is scope JS? So in fact, you really need to understand, have a great understanding of scope to like really know what you're doing, because it's going to challenge you. Like if you, well, you won't challenge you, you will learn. So let's just quickly look at the definition. So there are two main types of scope. We have the local scope and the global scope. Yeah. Each function creates a new scope, and scope determines accessibility, which is what we can see here. So if you are looking for a variable that is not in the scope that you have defined it to be, you're going to be getting undefined, which is what we have here. The age is not available in our global. Oh, wait. Where's age? Okay, wait, let's even take it slowly now. Okay, let's just take it slowly. So we function that function. If we want to simply call handle names, call that. So why is now let me read that so we can see it easily. Then so what we have done is we've said this handle names function. Okay, this handle names function, once you call it, we're also initializing or invoking the print name method that is inside our names. Yes? Hey, nobody's answering. And we're also logging Okay, and we're also logging this age that is defined in the parent scope. So I was trying to explain what closures are, and I simply said closures are when functions are able to access variables defined in their parent scope. So for this handle names to be able to access this age variable, that is, so a function access in their parent, which is the age. So I was not trying to explain the different type of scopes, and I just wanted to show you guys. I wanted you guys to be able to see all the different scopes and how, when you declare a variable with var, you've made it available in the global scope. It is available everywhere. Okay, and then when you declare a variable with either const or let, you're making it available in the global scope. Sorry, in the local scope. Geez, when you when you define a variable with either const or let me even just comment that so that you guys can see. Are going to be available in the local scope. So I was not trying to explain because earlier on I mentioned lexical scope, and someone was like, "Hey, what's that?" I don't think I've heard that before. So I was trying to create a picture of how we are working with lexical scope. Yeah. So I now to explain that this handle names has this first name and surname available in its own local scope, in the scope local to itself. That is clear, yes?
Yeah.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Well, this name have defined within its own scope. We have this first name defined and this surname defined. Okay, maybe I should add another one. Let gender equals to. So now this gender that we've just defined is in the lexical scope to handle names, but it is in the local scope to print names. Can you see that? Is that clear? Is that clear? Take a look at it. Just think about it. So first name, let me remove this guy. So that having one first name and confusing us at all. Okay. So now, in this handle names function, what are the local variables available? We have the first name and the surname. Okay, so if we want to easily print console the first name, it's going to give us Anita. Yeah. Well, now, if we try to access this gender from here, we are seeing that gender is not defined because it can't access it. It is not in its own local scope. It is also not in the parent scope because that's what it's going to do. It's going to also check the parent scope, which is trying to create a closure there, but it's not defined in the parent scope. It's also not defined in its own local scope. So it's going to say, hey, gender is not defined. But that's odd because we have gender defined in print name. So handle names can't access the lexical scope. Okay, it can access its local scope, it can access its global scope, but it can't access this lexical scope that we have created here, which is like the grandchild. Let me just say that. Is that clear? But if we want to access this gender, we'll have to go, hey, We have to access it from print name. So yeah, we have to call it. Sorry, there's no need to do that. Oh, we're already doing that already. So yeah, print name is able to access the gender variable because it can access it. It is local to it. Okay, is that clear?
Yeah.
That's clear for everybody? I didn't confuse you, but with all my ramblings.
Yeah, it's clear.
It's clear. Okay, so that is but let's just quickly go back to this slide. So everybody understands what a closure is, right? Because I actually got asked that question in one of the interviews, and as at that time I had no idea what it was. That's why when I saw this topic, I was like, yes, I have to jump on this because I don't want you guys making the same mistakes I made. But I ended up getting the job, funny enough. But that's by the way.
I dropped the note for you in the chat.
Okay. Yes. Tunde, yes, thanks. I realized as well. But we can also just do that together, maybe after on the Slack channel. I think they said there's a Slack channel. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that one today. Okay. So yeah, let's just finish up the slides because I didn't expect that I'll keep you guys here for this long. So yes, it's good you know the definition. A closure is, I mean, this definition was very, when I saw, I was like, yeah, it can throw someone off. Okay, a closure is a combination of function bundled together with references to its surrounding state, the lexical state. In other words, a closure gives you access to an outer function scope from an inner function, which is what we have seen in action. Okay, in JavaScript, closures are created every time a function is created at function creation time. So every time we're creating a function and we're accessing variables on the outer scope, we are using a closure without even like knowing it. So it's an invisible concept. It's not like the way when you define a variable, you use it and you're like, hey, I just defined a variable, I've used it. Do you get? So while you're creating functions and you're accessing variables available in the parent scope, you are utilizing a closure. And that's exactly the same thing that I tried to explain here. I think we've gone over all this and I think everybody kind of understands that. So questions. Any questions so far?
Can we get your slides data?
Yes, sure. Yes, sure. I'll make the slides available. Okay. So I just really want to quickly touch upon some other things that are not related to code. So very important in building, like just how to get the job, things you can do to just let yourself, would I say let recruiters like radar, let recruiters radar pick up on you. Let me say it like that. But there are several things you need to do if you're a developer. When you're building, first thing is always build. Always build. I think everybody has like a to-do list. Later, just build things that you enjoy, no matter how small. And when you build these things, push to your GitHub repo. It's very important because so a lot of times when recruiters want to recruit, the first thing they go is they just go to different people's repo and they're checking the projects that they've built. So I think I also default in this. I don't build enough things and push to my GitHub repo, but it's advisable, especially when you're trying to land a job. Okay, so because recruiters are going to ask like people in-house, say, hey, can you go through these profiles and this repo? And imagine if you don't have anything there. So if you have some spare time, try and build something small and push to your GitHub repo and then create a website. In fact, I think these days, most websites are not even, you don't even have to have a website that is too fine, that is doing anything too much. You can just have a simple link to all the projects you've built on your website. You can start it that way in case you're trying to overkill and you're trying to, like, before you even have the time to build that website that is going to kill everybody, just even have some web presence with links to little projects that you've done. Okay. And then when you push these projects to your GitHub, please make sure that the projects you want recruiters or people to be able to take a look at are public. Because if they are private, nobody's going to be able to see them. It will even show your GitHub contributions. Okay? That's clear. So
Yeah.
I think that's very important if you're just trying to give yourself some presence and just land a job. But a good way to find real opportunities, first of all, make sure that you have a lot of dear friends that know you're good. Even though they don't know you're good, they know how invested you are to learning how to code. So they can also put a word or two in their own companies. But if you don't have friends that are in tech, make sure you're on LinkedIn. I think I've had like 4 jobs in like software development, and 3 out of those 4 jobs were from recruiters that contacted me on LinkedIn. Okay, so LinkedIn is very important. It was only my first job in tech that I went after, and I reached out to someone in the company and I said, hey, please, can you let me know when they're recruiting. When they're recruiting, he buzzed me and I went for the interview. But every other job that I have gotten, they came from LinkedIn. Recruiter sent me a message, hey, are you available to explore this opportunity? So also on your LinkedIn, I think they call it tag, there's that thing that show right beside your name. Even if you are a beginner, just put software developer or front-end developer, back-end developer. Don't even start complicating things. Front-end, learning how to code, front-end developer with a passion. Just keep it simple. Front-end developer. So that, because when these recruiters are searching, they're not going to search for front-end developer beginners or learning how to code or passionate. They're just going to send for front-end developer. Okay, so you have to make sure that your profiles are easily going to be coming out when they are doing all these searches. And then also be active on Twitter. There's a lot of things that are happening. In fact, a lot of job posting that happen on Twitter. I see them almost every other day. I even try to retweet them so that people following me and are looking for jobs can also like explore these opportunities. But follow people in tech. Follow me. Follow. There are some really key people in like Nigerian tech. I think there's Ire. I really like her. She's doing great work. There's Timmy God. There's Prosper. There are a lot of people in tech. Just follow these people. And if I know that some people are saying, hey, they like when you are always coding, where's the time to follow? But I mean, don't you want opportunities to come? Okay, so you can also just share your projects when you build things. If no, don't even look down on yourself. Like, don't even think of any project you've built as too small. No matter how small, share it on social media. So there's this guy on Twitter. He posted this really cool website he built, just HTML, CSS. And then someone in my company, as at that time, told me, hey, can you reach out to this person? We want to hire him. And in his post, he even said it that, hey, I just got started with HTML CSS. But because he shared his profile, because he shared his projects, people were like, hey, this guy, if he can do this, then he can learn this. He can learn, if he can do X, he can learn Y and Z. So always share. Don't even get tired. Don't get tired of sharing your projects on social media. I mean, I feel like if it doesn't really lead to any job, you can even get some great feedback on like what you've worked on. People will be like, hey, why did you do this like this? Oh, okay, if I was the one, I'll do this. And then you're starting a conversation, and from there you're even learning more than you knew before you even built the project. Okay, so it's also very good. So I didn't have a goodbye slide. But I think that's it for me though. If there's anything I want to leave you with is, don't forget you're always learning, and just always keep up, like continuously learn. Don't give up. Sometimes some things will be buggy, like this bug that we've experienced today. Yeah, I'm actually shocked I can't wrap my head around it, but yeah, I think today is also trying to help me around with that. But I mean, we can all just work on that later, and I'll share it. I'll get access to the Slack and I'll just share the details for you. I think you said your name is Eugene. Did I get that right?
Eugenia, yes. Eugenia.
Eugenia. Okay, Eugenia. I won't forget. I won't forget again. So Eugenia, I'll try and reach you. But if you can just privately send me like your uh, maybe your email address or your Twitter handle, something like that, I can reach out to you and then we can work on that together. And then maybe you can now champion it and just share the solution for everyone. That sounds like a plan, yeah?
Yes, please kindly check your chat.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, that's it, guys. I hope you guys learned something today. I hope you guys learned something today. But okay, so I think for everybody to see, you can just search for me on LinkedIn. I always follow, but I always follow people in tech first. I don't know why. I just like following people in tech first. So my LinkedIn profile is just /PH3BIN. It's the same everywhere. So on Twitter, it's also at, so this Phebian, can you see, yeah?
Yeah.
Everybody can see this, yeah? Okay. So that's me. Even on Twitter, it's at PHTBIM. Oh, okay. So yeah, I have a website. It's still PHTBIN. So you can come and reach me on Twitter by just clicking on that. What else? Oh yeah, it's asking me to log in. I don't want to log in. Yeah, you can also reach my GitHub. I told you guys I'm a defaulter. I don't even push as many projects as I should, but that's about it for me. Okay, guys, I think this is where I leave you. Let me copy. I'm going to copy out my LinkedIn profile so you guys can follow me there. I think that's best. But please, you guys, see the way I put my tagline. If they're looking for front-end developers, don't you know that everybody will find me? Don't you know that they fast? See it now. I think I see
It's
it.
nice.
Yes, now. So they will find me and make sure you have like a good picture. I really begged my younger brother to take me this picture. So I wanted to look like a senior woman. Okay, let's stop the jokes. But it's been really, I'm very, very happy I was able to do this. It's such a privilege. And I'm praying that you guys go on to be bigger and better than I am.
Amen. Thank
Question
you.
before you run.
Okay. Okay, guys, I think that's it for me. It was really nice being here today.
Question.
Okay, yeah, share a question, please.
Okay, God bless you.
Yeah, your profile says a senior front end dev,
Yeah,
and you shared some things you have to do to get noticed by recruiters.
yes.
But specifically to you, I'm assuming you are the lead front end at your company. If you were to take on a new person, like a greenhorn, a beginner, what would you
Okay.
look out for on the person's profile? Maybe on GitHub, I know usually generically they say projects are not whatnot, but specifically to you, what would you be looking out for?
Okay, so me, if so actually we're actually a group of I think there are about in Okra we're like 4 senior devs. We have an engineering manager, so I don't want it to be like but we have an engineering manager, and then we have, I think, just one junior dev on the team, because we're a small company, so I think they really went after senior developers. But if they're looking to recruit junior developers and they're like, hey Phebian, can you recommend someone, or can you check out profiles for us, what I'll be looking out for, we use React on the team, and if they share profiles with me, I would go into the code base, I would take a look at the projects they have there. If they have React projects there, I would pay very close attention to how their React project is structured, okay? Because it says a lot about a developer. Structuring your file structure alone, not even your code, not even how your code is structured, because sometimes you might be rushing and then you end up writing messy code, and then you're just focusing on getting the functionality out right, yeah? But I'll look at how you structure a folder, if you have your store, okay, so I know everybody, okay, you guys might not be familiar with React and Redux flow yet, but I'll pay attention. Not yet, but when you are learning, make sure that you always keep your I think they call it separation of concerns. So if you have just views, you separate your views from your store, your React store. Your React store is very nice if your React store is broken down into actions, reducers, and your types. when you learn this, you would understand better. So I really pay attention into structures. I also take a look at things they've built. And I also pay attention to people that have built stuff and they've hosted their stuff so that I can experience it. So it's not just about pushing code. Did you think further to include a link for me to go and experience this project? So let me show you what I'm talking about. Does everybody know Netlify?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so what I tried to do that time when I was serious with let me just end it there. But if I build a project, I always try to make sure I add a link. Can everybody see this link I've added? And using Netlify is actually free.
I'm not showing your screen yet.
Oh, sorry. Do you know this one? I've been showing my screen in different. I forgot. I stopped sharing. Okay, so can everybody see? I added a link to this project here. It's a very small project. I'm sure everybody can do it. But yeah, I was trying to just demo how to use React hooks. So if you click on this, you can immediately experience what I've built. You don't even need to go through the code base. So in case you want to just quickly like see what I've built, you can just experience it. I think that's pretty thoughtful. Do you get?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
those are the simple things I would personally be looking at. I'll be looking at I'll even be looking at the projects you have on your repo, the file structure. I won't start going line by line to see things. So like see this project now. It was a single page website. That's why it's not even the best arrangement here. But I separated my assets, which it has my font, it has my SVG. I also separated the components that I reused. So I reused several components. I have a button, the inputs, just things I reused, okay? Or things I want to keep in a place just as a whole. So those are the things I would actually and even like if I go to someone's repo now and I see a button, I would I'll pay attention to this because I'll try to pay attention to how this person handled type, because type is very important when you're dealing with accessibility. So when it's time to submit, would you be able to pass type submit into this button? When the button is not a submit button, would you be able to pass type button or type checkbox? So if I even see like there are just some specifics I'll pay attention to just to make sure that this person really knows what they're trying to do. Do you get? So I think it's very important for everyone to be very intentional about your folder structure, be very intentional about your code, and also please pay attention to accessibility. I watched a video on Twitter where I saw someone who was blind using an iPhone. Just imagine how someone, like I've never thought about it before I saw that video. I never thought like, oh, how do blind people even own phones? But because the people that have engineered the iPhones were intentional about it and they built it in a way that people that are blind can use their phones. I think it's very important to know that when we're building solutions, accessibility is very important because some of our users are blind, some of our users are deaf, they can't hear. Okay? So yeah, before I end up keeping us here for longer. So those are the key things. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yeah, you have for me.
Okay, thank you. Let me check the message. Oh, Gina, thanks. That's very nice. Please send me a follow request on LinkedIn so I can follow you. Okay. Any other questions? Because any other questions?
I didn't get your Twitter handle.
Oh, my Twitter handle is the same. It's just at Phebian.
At Phebian. Okay.
Yeah, the Phebian is with a 3. The E is a 3. So this is me here. Okay. And yes, I just want to be the Beyonce of JavaScript. I think that makes everybody laugh. But I'm always learning, and I'm hoping that God will bless all my efforts. And you can't go wrong by constantly learning. There's so much to learn. So please, you guys also really keep on learning. Okay.
Thank you so much, Phebian.
Okay.
So does any other person have any question they want to ask Phebian before we wrap up? Okay. All right. Yeah, once again, thanks for accepting our invite and for delivering as much. Although I joined at the later parts, but it felt more like a conversation. So I like the fact that it was very, very interactive. Thank you for sharing from your weight of knowledge and also for sharing your contact details. That's really very helpful. I don't know if you already dropped the link to the slides that you used, but maybe we would reach out to you later to get it
I'll
for the
share that.
class.
I'll share that.
Awesome. All right. Thank you everyone as well for joining the call. Yeah, so
Gracias.
so we'll get the slides from her and then share with the class. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you for
bye-bye.
having me.
Obrigado. Obrigado.